Good day to you. Um, in this video, I'd like to discuss a topic that is often addressed very disingenuously, and I'll show exactly how. And that topic is, why do we, human beings, have children? Why do human beings have children? Now, the reflexive immediate answer from most people in Western society would be because many parents would say because they had children out of love, or they'd say that they had children because it is to make them happy. Well, I challenge that assertion as dishonest and insincere. It's more waxing poetically or romantic drivel than any actual substance to it. And if you allow me in this video, I will go about proving that. Now, to prove why we actually have children, I will have to demonstrate this in three different ways. I'm going to demonstrate it physiologically, mentally, as well as overall life experience. Now, the first way I'll go about addressing why we actually have children and countering the fact that it is not out of love or due to happiness, as many people claim as why they are parents or why they aspire to be parents. The first thing I would point to is the fact of our physiology. We are born with arousal, and arousal compels us to seek. We're born with arousal as a part of our instinct, and a part of our instinct is also to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. And sex just happens to be very pleasurable. So we seek, men and women seek pleasure in sex. Now, what is the fundamental reason for sex? If we were to examine all other life forms, sex is for reproduction. And that is the fundamental reason here as well. The only reason why sex is pleasurable is to ensure, that we are participating, that human beings are continuously participating in at least simulating sex, and by doing so, eventually it will lead to having children. That's the reason why, though we maybe consciously we believe that many of us think that we have children accidentally. Really, it is deliberate because of the way nature set up sex in the first place as a way to further reproduction. And why would nature set things up that way? To continue life experience, to ensure that experience continues. So, and here's a good question to ask to figure out as to why human beings have children, whether it's for love, or whether it's to make us happy, or whether it's for another reason. The question is, if sex wasn't pleasurable, how big would the human population be? I'll repeat that. If sex wasn't pleasurable to us, how big would the human population be? Now, if you can honestly take some time to consider that and then really, really answer that genuinely, then that will give you an idea as to why we really have children. But let's not stop there. Let's continue to examine the excuses many people make as to why they have children. Some people, they'll say, I don't know, I just want to have a children, or my mother wants me to have one, or my parent wants me to have one, because some dad wants their kids to have children, grandkids. Put pressure on their children for grandkids. Um, then you have culture. We're expected to have children. Um, in the society, if you notice when someone posts on Facebook that they're having children, regardless if that person is a heroin addict or if that person is a person who lives responsibly, they get a lot of favorable likes on that post. Notice that regardless if the person is a heroin addict or not, people like that post. So society encourages us to have children. So far, all the reasons I've mentioned have nothing to do with being happy or with love. But let's go in further. Um, to me, if children, if we had children to be happy, we wouldn't, there wouldn't be such a large drug market or alcohol market. Um, People would just have kids as the main avenue for pleasure, if such a thing were really true. In the past, people had kids to use as labor, and in today, it's almost the same thing. We're still using children for our own selfish purposes, for one reason or another. It's having children for us is more like an itch that needs to be scratched, if anything. Um, we have children to keep us company when we get old, or as we get older, as we grow older, to look after us for when we get older, to help us around the house as people in the past did. Um, Children are a big responsibility. They are actual lives, human lives, just like our own. And we all know how hard it is to live within society on its own, or to live within our own minds, and the challenge that is, as well as how much effort that it takes to be a quality parent. So how can being a parent be mostly a happy experience? During your happy experiences that you experience any other time, do you like being angry? Well, when you're a parent, there are going to come times that you have to be angry. Why would anyone want to avoid being a parent at all then? Or why doesn't everyone have as many kids as they can? Because if having children was for making us happy, then wouldn't all of us, wouldn't the people, those people with the most children, be the happiest people on the planet or in society? Is that how it works? Are the people with the most children, are they the happiest people in society or among parents? No. So I've already presented 2 points that notion falls flat on its face, that we have children for the reason of being happy or out of love. Now let's address having children out of love, for the purpose of love. Life is fundamentally a challenge. There are threats and risks throughout it. In each moment of life, You can fall out and die. Any of us can. Life is fragile and very delicate. The experience of life is not a fun one for children nor adults in general. How many of us would actually choose to experience life if we had the choice of not ever doing so? Really consider that question. That answer is in how much of us seek escape. The fact that we're even willing to consider that answer shows in how much of us seek escape from reality on a daily basis. So aren't we being sadistic in bringing children into such a world? A world in which every moment of their lives they are at mortal risk? Think about that. So how could that be out of love? If anything, that is only out of selfish desire, our own selfish desire. Another thing I'd like to mention is the type of parents that have kids because they like to see things develop. For the most part, that's what I think, that people have kids. There are parents out there that they have kids for this reason. These parents are like artists or carpenters. Um, this is why healthy babies are more quickly adopted than a healthy adolescent or teenager. Same thing if when people buy pets, they don't buy the oldest pet, they buy the youngest pet because they wish to see it develop. They wish to help it develop. They wish to take some credit, uh, be emotionally invested in in a living thing's development. That's even why they'll get a young plant rather than one that's already fully developed. This is also why we live vicariously through our children. Through their we live vicariously through their development. We wish to relive life through them. Some people um, Another thing I would say to the parents that say that they have children for the sake of happiness or out of love, I wonder if those parents would honestly say that there are moments in which they are incessantly angry with their child outweighs the moments with their children that make them happy. Because if they would say yes, which I'm guessing that many would, reflexively, without thinking, but I would pose this question to them. Would you admit that you're more engaged, immersed, and intense in your angry moments with your children or with your child than you are in those moments of shared happiness? Are you not? Can you honestly say that you're not more intensely angry with your child in those moments than you are intensely happy with your child in those happy moments? And which one outnumbers the other? Moving on. Now, for those people who are nurturers, a person which can be male and female, I'd like to say. There are male nurturers as well as female nurturers. We're individual members of a social species. Therefore, we all have the ability to nurture. We all have the ability to look after each other. We all have that obligation and that responsibility innately, being individual members of a social species called the human race. Now, people whose ambition it is to outright nurture, these people, you'll see them own a lot of pets, not just have a lot of children or have children. They do this, they do gain happiness or joy, regardless of the children's or pets' behavior, because those type of people are in the experience for the experience of nurturing along the way during the development. It's a pastime for them, a way to occupy their boredom. Once again, a using of the child for a specific selfish purpose, not necessarily happiness or love. But still, even nurturing plays into the development motive. Due to our methods of nurturing must themselves adapt along the way of development of that child or pet. So while it's adapting, our nurturing is developing. So, in conclusion, I would have to say that it is a fallacy that human beings have children for reasons of happiness or for the purpose of love. Though it is difficult for some of us to admit it, that we are the product of simply being compelled, of compulsion. Compelled by nature, physiologically, culturally, and in the social within the social construct, and that is the reason why we have children. Thank you. Leave your comments. I'd be happy to discuss them or questions, um, if you have any. Thank you.